With this, as we're here today, there are new beginnings. And I'd like to offer up a word of thanks to our local sponsors and our location sponsor today, Cabazon Band of Mission Indians and Fantasy Springs Resort and Casino. I want to give kudos to the Fantasy Springs Kitchen, banquet, and serving staff who are serving us today. As frontline hospitality workers, we recognize your commitment to serving others every day, and we appreciate you. Thank you. I'd also like to recognize our title sponsor, Contour Dermatology. Without your support, today would not be possible. Thank you, Contour Dermatology. To reciprocate your investment in our program, we'd like to give Contour Dermatology a moment to share this video message on behalf of their business.
Contour Dermatology is a dermatology and cosmetic surgery practice. And in our practice, we have a variety of different procedures and treatments that we offer here. I'd say probably 70% of our practice is general dermatology. We also do surgical dermatology, so there's a lot of skin cancer in the deserts, we do a lot of surgical treatment for skin cancer. And then finally, we're cutting edge cosmetic surgery practice. So we do things like fillers, injectables, and more aggressive treatments such as liposuction, facelift, surgery, and hair treatment. When I opened my office in the Valley, I only knew about Palm. I didn't know about the rest of the Valley. That's all I ever known about that education. But when I got here and expanded around the garage, I was like, wow, there's a lot more going on in the Valley than Palm Springs. And so having three locations really makes me feel like we have an anchor in every part of the Valley. In the Coachella Valley, you can go to people and meet them for the first time, and they're very welcoming, they're very supportive of your business. So I think if you go out there and you shake a lot of hands, you're going to meet a lot of contacts that are going to be very beneficial. At Contour Dermatology, we've been very, very, very lucky to find amazing, talented people. And in our practice, we have the employee promise where we try to promote from within. And it's amazing the talent that we've seen in some of these young people that we've hired. You know, some people have started as standards and ended up as the head of sales. We've promoted people from receptionist to manager. I think it's a great place, and don't underestimate the population that we have and how much they can contribute to your organization. You know, one of the other things that I think is fascinating about the Coachella Valley is the fact that there are so many people that want to do something to the world outside of life. And what I found is, like, giving back to the community, it's amazing how much love and support you get back from those people that you support. And so I think that's one of the things that makes the Coachella Valley so unique with all of these people that are really trying to make the world a better place.
Thank you again to our title sponsor, Contour Dermatology. Next, we'd like to recognize our presenting sponsors, City of Indian Wells, Desert Urgent Care, and Pueblo Viejo Grill. And our centerpiece sponsor, Pueblo Unido CDC. Let's hear it for our presenters. Thank you very much for supporting the GCVCC and this event. I'd also like to say thanks to all of our sponsors today. Agua Caliente Band of Fuya Indians and Agua Caliente Casino Resort Casino. Alpha Media, Altura Credit Union, AT&T, Vertec Waste and Recycling Services, Cabazon Band of Mission Indians, and Fantasy Springs Resort Casino, California Bank and Trust, City of Cathedral City, City of Coachella, City of Indio, City of La Quinta, Coachella Valley Public Cemetery, Coachella Valley Rescue Mission, Desert Care Network, iServe, NBC, Entravision, KSQ and MPG, Riverside County Supervisor, Emmanuel Perez, SoCal Gas Company, Valley Sanitary District, Visit Greater Palm Springs, West Coast Cannabis Club. Let's give a big hand for all of those sponsors who helped put this on today. It's great to be back in person. I'm sure everybody feels the same. So thank you for coming today. Now, I'd like to introduce you to our event MCs. We got Emily Falopino. She's our new president and CEO of the Greater Coachella Valley Chamber of Commerce. She's amazing, you guys. And Chris Collier, the legislative affairs consultant for the chamber. Let's give a warm welcome to our MCs so we can get our program started. Thank you.
Good morning, good afternoon. Thank you so much for being here. I feel the community vibes and love of just being with you all. As Jeff mentioned, my name is Emily Falopino. I'm the new president and CEO for Greater Coachella Valley Chamber of Commerce. I'm also a new resident to this amazing valley, and I want to personally thank County Supervisor Brett, as well as all of our city mayors and tribal leaders for, and I should say to those who are both present and absent. But I want to thank you for your tremendous leadership and dedication to our communities. I have learned through my career, which pales in comparison to yours, that leadership and governance are not easy in and of themselves. You throw in a global pandemic, civil unrest, and a whole lot of uncertainty, and it's been a really trying couple of years. Your commitment to leading and serving is something that we as a chamber deeply appreciate, and we want to applaud you. Thank you for your service, and thank you for sharing with us today. And on that note, I'm going to go a little off script, and I'm going to invite anyone who is here with us today as an elected official to please stand, and I'd like us as an audience to just give a round of applause to them for their service. Thank you. I think we forget to do that sometimes, and I listen to all the public comment. I watch all your council meetings, so man, better you than me. All right, well, let me introduce my co-host, Chris Collier. Chris Collier is also new to the chamber. He is our legislative consultant and the principal of Rincon Strategies.
Thank you for the introduction, Emily. Echo your appreciation to all the electeds with us today. So let's get this event kicked off by welcoming our supervisor, our city and tribal leaders. This time, we're going to begin our community presentations. Everyone will have 5 minutes to present on economic and community updates, and then ask you to step down so you can actually enjoy your lunch. Our lovely Rebecca, where are you, Rebecca? Will be here down in the front, helping you keep track of time. Once all the presentations are complete, we'll engage in a lively, moderated discussion over legislation, infrastructure, regional issues, and probably some other fun things too. So with that, let's get started.
Yes, to get our program started, I'm welcoming Riverside County's District 4 Supervisor, V. Manuel Perez, on behalf of the communities of Riverside County.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the invitation. It's always a pleasure. It's been a while. It's good to be back. And I thank you, Emily, for acknowledging us as policymakers, but ultimately at the end of the day, quite frankly, doesn't meet up to the standards of those servicemen and women that fight for us and that protect our country. And we mentioned earlier, Lance Corporal Hunter Lopez paid the ultimate sacrifice. So thank you for memorializing him, and then as well for that moment of silence. And with that said, tomorrow is National Day of Service and Remembrance. It's also National Patriot Day. So the Mayoral flag will be at staff throughout the county of Riverside in honor of folks of our servicemen and women like Hunter and those that lost their lives. I want to thank as well Cabazon Band of Mission Indians and specifically Chairman Doug Wellness. And the reason for that is, I think you might have heard or read in the paper or saw it in the news that not too long ago, less than a week ago, we had a natural disaster that took place here in the Coachella Valley. Specifically hard hit was the eastern Coachella Valley, the community of North Shore and Mecca, where about 1,400 residences were hard hit and unfortunately had no power. And you know how hot it gets out here in the desert. Over 100 degrees. And it got to a point where unfortunately IID could not provide that power for about 600 individuals, residents rather, in the North Shore area for up to 4 days. But quickly, the county of Riverside mobilized, and so did IID and my team, staff, working alongside the Cabazon Band of Mission Indians, Chairman Doug Wellness and his team went ahead and created a shelter right here for the folks that needed that shelter. So I really want to appreciate them. Thank you. Let's give them a round of applause. And with that said, I think it's important that I just kind of give you a quick update on that because I only got 5 minutes, not less. But just as of September 2nd, and I'm going to get another update maybe later today, but 371 individuals were also housed in hotels. I can't see that. How many minutes? Okay, 2. 4,080 meals, 31,464 bottles of water, 47,840 pounds of ice, 960 flashlights, 648 cans of cat food. IID also restored power and provided up to $100 for people for vouchers so that people can go ahead and purchase food. Now, I only have a couple minutes left, but I also just want to talk about vaccination rates. Look, we got a lot to be proud of, even though the pandemic hit us very hard. But I'd like to say that out of the entire county of Riverside, this district, the 4th district, has the highest vaccination rates in the county at 72% versus 51 to 58% in the rest of the county. And so that's what I call pandemic solidarity. And I appreciate all of you, your leadership, for taking that role of making sure people got tested and then as well being vaccinated. And in this last minute that I have, I just want to say I'm very proud of the fact that in spite of the pandemic, we got an arena coming. And I would just say that that is probably the biggest economic development opportunity that we have in the entire county of Riverside that's coming in our own backyard, just down the street, and unincorporated 1,000 pounds. So let's get cracking with cracking hockey. And let's get some concerts like the Eagles and Mana. Let's get some boxing. Maybe we can bring back Oscar de la Hoya, who knows? Maybe even Tyson. And there's my cue. Thank you. I've been remiss, the agricultural community. I want to thank you as well, growing Coachella Valley, for what you did during the pandemic for our farm workers. You guys stepped up to the plate. Nonprofits stepped up to the plate like Toadette, but it was you, the growers, that made sure you held us accountable so that our farm workers could be vaccinated during the pandemic. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Supervisor Perez. Right on time. Next, I'd like to recognize the Cabazon Band of Mission Indians. Tribal Chairperson Doug Wellness and his executive staff are with us today. What a gracious supporter and great location host. Thank you.
Additionally, we want to recognize the Agua Caliente Band of Cahuilla Indians. Tribal Chairperson Jeff Crew could not join us on stage today, but the executive team is here with us today. We want to thank you for your support, your presence, and we are continually grateful for both of you. So with that, let me invite our next speaker up. I'd like to invite Tribal Chairperson Amanda Vance on behalf of the Augustine Band of Cahuilla Indians. Was not prepared to go first.
Good afternoon, mayors, tribal leaders, elected representatives, and friends. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today about the Augustine Band of Cahuilla Indians. Like many in this room, our tribe has felt the significant impact of the continuing global pandemic. We believe, however, that we're emerging from the challenging times stronger, smarter, and more committed to our future more than ever. We continue to evaluate new opportunities to diversify our tribal enterprises. In the past, our casino has been our sole source of income. Today, we own and operate Smalltalk Farm, growing organic row crops and dates. The farm features a learning center and a produce market set to open to the public in November. Soon, the community will be able to buy a variety of fresh farm, pesticide-free produce, fresh squeezed juice, and smoothies at an affordable price. Recently, you may have noticed that to the south side of Augustine Casino, we are beginning our new tribal administration building. After nearly 20 years of working out of a temporary mobile office complex, we're proud to be able to construct our permanent home for the tribal government, gaming commission, and casino administration team. We look forward to telling you about more construction projects in the near future as we continue to master plan and develop Augustine Reservation for our tribal enterprises and our tribal residential community. Finally, you may have heard in the news about our recent hero pay distribution. The Tribal Council voted last month to issue a lump sum payment for our frontline heroes. Our workers who make a significant impact don't make tips or high salaries, but happily show up to work for our tribe all year long, even during a pandemic. Many of them have chosen to collect an expanded unemployment benefits. Instead, they chose loyally to come back to work and keep us all safe. The tribe issued checks to housekeeping, maintenance workers, public safety officers, and kitchen staff. The payments to these team members equals an additional $10 every hour they worked the past year. Some of these payments totaled nearly $20,000. We feel these heroes deserve every additional dollar, and we are so grateful for them. Although this past year has been difficult, we remain hopeful and envision a brighter future for our tribe and our entire Augustine family. We are truly blessed, and thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Chairperson Vance. At this time, I'd like to recognize regrets sent from Vice Chairperson Joseph Morales, who was planning on attending this morning but will not be able to join us. We're grateful to the Torres Martinez Desert Collier Indians for their support.
Next up, we would like to welcome Mayor Raymond Gregory on behalf of the City of Cathedral City. Even the longest walk.
Woo, I just had a thank you from the west part of the valley. Thank you for that great introduction, and a big thanks to the Greater Coachella Valley Chamber of Commerce for putting this event on today. You know, I think any discussion of economic development activities must first recognize the unique business environment in which we're all operating. COVID-19, political divisiveness, social justice movements, a recall election, these have all brought uncertainty. And we all know how uncertainty affects investment activity and the capital markets. Yet our local businesses, workers, and governments have met these challenges head on. While there have been hardships and sacrifices will continue to be made, we have seen real progress. And some have even been able to turn adversity into opportunity. Priorities may have changed and sharpened, but we are seeing positive results and rebounds in many areas and look to a bright future. In Cathedral City, a number of projects have sprung to life that have transformed our sometimes sleepy West Valley image and promise to expand our local economy well into the future. Chiefly among these has to be the Agua Caliente Band of Kuya Indians' new Agua Caliente Casino in Cathedral City. This first-rate facility with its gaming, dining, and entertainment venues promises to be a shining jewel in the crown of our downtown. Our other premier downtown attractions include the Mary Pickford Theater for Films, the CV Repertory Theater for live performances, and our Cathedral City Community Amphitheater, ready to welcome back our local festivals this fall, including our signature Hot Air Balloon Festival in November, which will include the celebration of Cathedral City's 40th anniversary. Yes, we're 40 years old. Cathedral City's downtown is also home to a number of smaller attractions like the Museum of Ancient Wonders, Agnes Hilton House, the Scrap Gallery, and numerous additional projects underway on both tribal and non-tribal land in various stages of development. And don't forget our nearby Big League Dream Sporting Facility under new management. Connecting downtown to the rest of our city is currently our largest public works project under construction, the Ophelia Brinkus Bridge over the wash at Cathedral Canyon Drive. Along with the bridge on Date Palm Drive completed a few years ago, this bridge will help greatly increase all-weather access to downtown and will tie our downtown into CP Link once the project reaches the area. Some other major projects in Cathedral City include the Amazon Last Mile Hub, which will bring jobs, faster deliveries to everyone throughout the valley, and a local return and customer service center. We have a new grocery outlet, new tower market, and the COD Automotive Technology Training Facility, which is so ideally located within the Cathedral City Auto Center, is in progress. There are a large number of new and expanded restaurants, bars, and shops, either recently opened or coming soon, even our first brew pub. Many of these have very recognizable regional and national names, but there's far more than I have time to mention today, so I won't try. But keep your ears open for numerous exciting announcements to come. On the residential front, housing continues to boom in Cathedral City. In fact, in 2020, more single-family residential permits were issued in Cathedral City than were issued in the period from 2013 to 2018 combined. The pace for 2021 continues to be brisk. Additionally, the selling price of the average single-family residence in Cathedral City rose more than 25% in the last year. Cathedral City is directly investing in projects designed to increase the quality of life for our residents, including park rehabilitation projects, increasing neighborhood public art, partnering to open our local high school swimming pool for community summer use, refurbishing our downtown Fountain of Life, and the creation of 2 new dog parks on existing city property, which makes my dog very happy. We have also begun the process to bring a vote to the residents, an option for including the city boundaries in the Desert Recreation District. These advancements have been made possible in no small part by the economic development efforts of our local partners, the Chamber being among the most important of these. While we foresee moving forward will not be an easy path, and we all still have serious challenges to face, by working together and strengthening our bonds, our future will continue to be bright. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Mayor Gregory. Next, I'd like to welcome Mayor Stephen Hernandez on behalf of the City of Coachella.
I think I had the shortest walk from these gentlemen here, so I want to just take a moment and thank each and every single one of you for doing what you do as businesses. I think the feedback loop that we're getting from the businesses in terms of what you need us as government to do has been outstanding, and so I just want to give the Chamber a big round of applause for everything that you guys are doing. It's no doubt that the business community is the lifeline of our cities, and so without you, we couldn't do what we do as elected officials. I think you guys have heard me before up here, and I like to talk about three things, and it's public safety, economic development, and infrastructure. I think those are three winners that cities can do and cities need to do well in order to have their communities thrive. In Coachella, we are moving on our infrastructure. We are just recently finishing our urban greening project in downtown, and it's on the Grateful Boulevard. So those that haven't come out there and seen how it's transformed the downtown, you need to come out and look at what's happening. We are also moving forward on another $3.5 million investment in downtown in the city of Coachella. That's going to be on 6th Street and 7th Street. And that is just revitalizing our downtown. If you've been to our downtown on a Saturday or even on a Monday, it's very vibrant, and I want to give a shout out to some of our business owners that are over there on the corner, and thank you for what you do to ensure that Coachella's downtown is vibrant. On the economic development side, very, very just pleased to note and happy to let you all know that over 262 market rate units are being built in the city of Coachella. We have Pulte Homes, we have D.R. Horton that's building in the city of Coachella. I especially get proud and happy of that because we're diversifying our housing stock, but it gets better. We are building over 200 units of affordable housing in downtown Coachella. And I think when we look at the city of Coachella, for us, it's about housing for all, not just housing for one segment of the population or one demographic of the population. We want to make sure that everybody, no matter what income you are at, you have a home in the beautiful city of Coachella. We have more developments that are coming as well. Our commercial business area is we're going to get an Aldi's there on 1st Street, as well as a Starbucks and Pollo Loco and things like Panda Express is coming in. We are partnering. I'm really, really proud of the collaboration that we're doing with the County of Riverside, as well as the College of the Desert. Recently, we were just able to bring in College of the Desert to our downtown to start offering classes. We have a very, very young demographic in our city. It's 27. And so the importance of educating our community is very vital to our future. And so that collaboration with College of the Desert is really going to pay dividends down the road. And with the County of Riverside, we're really concentrating on our corridors on Avenue 52, on Avenue 48. We want to open them up, make sure that you can easily traverse from Coachella, Indio, La Quinta, the unincorporated areas, and really just have a seamless, East Valley. So that's just a little bit of what we got to show you. I will welcome, we're letting everybody know that October 15th, remember that date, that's the state of the city. So I hope I can see all of you there because we have a lot more exciting things that are going to be happening. So thank you for allowing me to be here, and I look forward to continuing to work with every single one as we rebuild that as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor Hernandez. Next, I'd like to welcome Mayor Scott Modis on behalf of the city of Desert Hot Springs.
I heard my 3 fans out there. All right. Yeah, I got a couple more, right? First of all, I want to apologize to you. This will be my first luncheon that I won't be able to stay for the panel. I have a board meeting that just couldn't get out of it. I literally tried, and I just can't get out of it. So I apologize as soon as I'm done here. I'm going to be leaving. No disrespect to my other fellow colleagues here in the Coachella Valley. Truly believe in partnerships, and I thank you all for your partnerships. Before I get started real quick, for those of you that were watching our council meeting this week, Councilmember Jan Pye had a medical emergency and she had to leave via ambulance. The Desert Regional took very good care of her. Thank you, Linda. And she recovered. She is back home resting and threatened all of us that she'll be at the next council meeting. So. Desert Hot Springs is the fastest growing city in the Coachella Valley over the last 10 years, according to the census. I can talk for hours on what we got going and what we have planned and what the future will look like in Desert Hot Springs. But what I want to do is just invite you to the State of the City, October 21st, to be hosted by the Greater Coachella Valley Chamber of Commerce. Thank you very much. And I have so much to say. Our finances are in a great position. We've just bonded out for $15 million for infrastructure. We just built a new city hall. We've got new roads. Our public works has received multiple awards for the roads. This is a lot of partnerships with Coachella Valley, the state of California, and our region here. So I want to thank all of them. But to get a bigger and in-depth look on it, please, October 21st, come to our city, our Health and Wellness Center that's won multiple awards. We'll host the State of the City there. And we look forward to seeing all of you. With that said, I will get started. Somebody was Rebecca there. She's going to start doing this with her signs. I learned the first time I got through about 5 sentences and I was hooked off the stage right away. So I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to continue to do what Lynn Evans did a couple years ago. October 21st is the State of the City. October 21st is the State of the City. Come see the State of the City. October 21st in Desert Hot Springs. I learned from all my colleagues. Before I leave, I wanted to say a special thank you to Josh Bonner, who really worked really hard with the Greater Coachella Valley Chamber of Commerce and brought Desert Hot Springs into that mix. I thank you for all your service there, and I'm excited with what I've seen from Emily so far. This is a great organization. They've helped lots of businesses get on their feet, continue to stay on their feet. Something that we don't think any of us ever foresaw in our lifetime. Our businesses are still thriving because of a lot of work that they've done. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Scott Mattis. Next, I'd like to welcome Mayor Pro Tem Dana Reed on behalf of the City of New Wells.
Well, it's great to be here. It's great to get out of the house and be among our friends again like we did before. Before I begin, I want to introduce 2 of my colleagues that are with us today, Council Members Kimberly Music and Donna Griffith, and our City Manager, Chris Phelan, and members of the staff. I had the honor to address this august group at the first annual luncheon 5 years ago. Perhaps some of you remember. 5 years ago, I said I wasn't sure why we were invited to a big Chamber of Commerce luncheon because Indian Wells is predominantly a residential community with very little of what we commonly refer to as commerce. If you'll remember, I said that while we have excellent restaurants and fabulous hotels, we have no manufacturing We have no warehouses. We have no big boxes. We have no fast food. We have no auto dealers, no gas stations, no drive-through banks. In fact, we don't even have a post office. Five years ago, that's what I said, and everything is the same today. Except one thing, we can add no grocery store to the list because Ralph's left us. While much is the same in Indian Wells, and let me parenthetically state that many of our residents are very happy with that and want to keep it that way, a lot has changed in the Coachella Valley in the last 5 years. For example, 5 years ago, Desert Hot Springs touted their emerging cannabis industry, and since then, many of our cities have jumped on the bandwagon. But there are no cannabis dispensaries in Indian Wells, and I doubt that is going to change soon. Consumption of cannabis is not really a big deal in Indian Wells, but we cherish our Brandini toffee as the target drug of choice. Now, speaking of drug of choice, In-N-Out Burgers is finally coming to Rancho Mirage. Soon they will be dispensing thousands of double-doubles and French fries to the residents of the playground of presidents. Who would have ever thought? We have a hamburger restaurant in Indian Wells. It's called Eureka Burger. And while it's a little bit more expensive than In-N-Out, the food at Eureka is excellent, the service impeccable, and unless you really enjoy eating lunch in your car from a cardboard tray, you should come over and try it. And speaking about restaurants, my fiance and I were in Greece last month, and we met a couple from South Florida. When I told him that we were from Indian Wells, the man lit up. Don Diego's, he said, great taquitos. We go there whenever we're in Indian Wells for your tennis tournament. And of course, who doesn't love the Nest, the View, and Vicky's of Santa Fe? According to the new U.S. Census, Indian Wells is still the least populated city in Riverside County. Surprisingly, we actually lost population over the last 5 years. We're not exactly sure where these people have gone or why they left us, but hopefully it's not because they're unhappy with our city council. By the way, we have approximately 5,000 residential units in Indian Wells, but if the governor signs SB 9, that could increase dramatically in the next 5 years. Palm Springs has erected a giant replica of a famous actress in a revealing white dress near their cultural center and maintains the statue of a former mayor riding a horse in front of the city hall. We don't have any statues in Indian Wells. We don't even have a cultural center to put one in front of. But if we did decide to emulate Palm Springs and honor a famous thespian and a former public official, I suspect our residents would want us to erect a statue of Ronald Reagan riding a horse. That way we can kill two birds with one stone. Coachella became a sanctuary city in the past 5 years, and when they did, Mayor Steve Hernandez is quoted in the Desert Sun as saying, "We welcome the immigrant community." Now, it's a little known fact, but on a per capita basis, Indian Wells has more immigrants than any other city in the Coachella Valley. You might find that surprising, but few, if any, of our residents were actually born in Indian Wells. So by definition, they're immigrants. And these immigrants come from all over. Malibu, Beverly Hills, Newport Beach, everywhere. I came from New Jersey. We're all immigrants. On a more serious note, before they pull my chain here, I think we owe a debt of gratitude to the city of Palm Springs and the great Palm Springs CBB for their hard work in bringing Southwest Airlines and other carriers to our valley. It made a huge difference. Thank you, thank you, thank you. What we need to do in the next 5 years is get Amtrak to institute twice daily round trip service between Los Angeles, Orange County, and the Coachella Valley. as Mayor Pro Tem Lisa Middleton is fond of saying, this would be a game changer. RCTC, Caltrans, and the Federal Railroad Administration are working together to make this happen. We need to give them all the encouragement we can. Thank you very, very much.
Welcome to the Greater Coachella Valley Chamber,
Thank you,
6th
Mayor
Annual
Pro Tem.
All Valley Mayor and
You
Tribal
are going to
Luncheon
be a tough act to follow.
here in
But I think
Candlelight
our next
Springs
one is up for
Casino.
the challenge. I'd like to welcome
Greg
Mayor
Campbell
Elaine
for
Holmes on behalf of
CoachellaValley.com.
the city of Indio.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's so great to be here and it's so great to see everyone. And it really gives me the opportunity to talk a little bit about Indio. And ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. Indio is on fire. The COVID, yes. COVID did nothing to stop all the forward progress we have in the city of Indio. Where do you want to live? Come on down to Indio. As of this point in time, we have over 300 housing permits. That's expected to double. You want to live in a beautiful, nice home, North Indio, South Indio, we've got it. We're putting in a whole lot of affordable housing in this city and some market rate housing as well. And you know what? That market rate housing is going to be in a very chic area called downtown. And you guys just have to wait and see what's happening here because, you know, while you're out there shopping for that house, you need to stop by the new Mathis Brothers. They have an outlet center. So you can just furnish your house right then and there, and it all happens in Indio. And don't forget to stop by the new Dutch Brothers there in Indio. There is so much going on in the city. We are having so much fun. I will tell you, the great grand marketplace 4 years ago when we did our State of the City, we talked about it, and it is coming to life, and it is going to be a great and fabulous place. And we will give you a little bit more detail a little bit later on. I will tell you that the downtown area is going through its own renaissance. It will be the place to see and be seen because we are inviting and have contracts with 3 sit-down restaurants. There will be music. There will be everything you need to enjoy a downtown. I'm just going to put that little teaser up there. As I said, talk about places to see and be seen. It will be the city of Indio, and I will unveil all of this at our State of the City, which is also a place to see and be seen, on November 30th. We're going to take something a little different here. We're going to do a cocktail party so that we can enjoy the evening. Yes. So we can enjoy the evening in the beautiful grounds. Everyone, thank you very, very much. And I'm going to put a plug in for our family member here at the Fantasy Springs. What a great, great place. Everybody knows it's one of my favorite places here. Brad's Pad on Tuesday night. Great restaurants, great concerts. Chicago starting tomorrow night. Rocky Mountain Chocolate Factory here. An absolute favorite of mine. Shop local, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you November 30th, Coachella Valley History Museum. We're rocking and rolling. Take care.
Thank you, Mayor Evans. Next up, I'd like to welcome. Mayor Holmes, I'm sorry. I was going to introduce the wrong city. Next, I'd like to welcome Mayor Linda Evans from the city of La Quinta.
Move on. So by my estimations, because we've got 3 tribes that were here, I get actually 20 minutes instead of 5. Yes? And I love the fact that normally I just tease you, like the other cities have, about our upcoming State of the City. Desert Hot Springs is when? October 21st, good. And Indio's is November. Excellent. All right. We don't have our schedule until the spring, so you get to listen to me for a few minutes. First of all, I'd like to thank you very much for being in person and supporting the Greater Coachella Valley Chamber of Commerce. I have with me today Council Members Steve Sanchez and John Pena, as well as our City Manager John McMillan and our Finance Director Claudia Extraordinaire. We'll talk about revenues a little bit in a minute. And I thought we'd do something a little bit different and just do the top 10 things happening in La Quinta. Does that sound good? Because you know I can stay a lot in 5 minutes and I'll save some of it for the Q&A.
First of all, I just want to talk about the pandemic response. This is an example of how we've been resilient and how we've come together as businesses. And La Quinta really stepped up early and offered up $2 million in our revenues, as well as $100,000 to find food bank to help businesses and our residents get through this. And I'm happy to say, La Quinta businesses, where are you? La Quinta residents, where are you? Yes, we're here. Thank you. Thank you. Happy to say that except for a couple of those large chain stores, we have not lost a single small business during this pandemic, and they are doing outstanding. So cheers to all of you for supporting them, and cheers to the business owners who are just pushing through. We're in it together. Update on Montage and Pendry. Permits have been pulled. We're not quite clear of the default notice. That was one of those light a fire to get it done. And so things are going to start happening in terms of model homes, spa, foundation is being taken care of, the clubhouse, the conference center, all of those things are still underway. So that is actually still happening and will continue to happen. And that's a huge piece of what the future of La Quinta's revenue base will be, with sales tax, property tax, as well as hotel tax. Construction on CV Link is underway as well. Many of you were at the ribbon cutting groundbreaking, and if you haven't seen the bridge lately between our sister city Indio and La Quinta, which is kind of on Vista Grande across from Home Depot, go ahead and take a look at that. It's getting there, and hopefully in the next couple years, we'll have our 2-mile stretch of CV Link, and we've got that in combination with our Highway 111 corridor plan, which is a real revisioning of that 2-mile stretch. That 2-mile stretch of commercial represents about 80, Claudia, 75% of our sales tax revenues is a test for her. She knows the answer. So we're trying to look at signage on the CV Link side. We're looking at more walkability. We're working with the center owners on adding some different elements so we have less asphalt and more walkability. So that's really kind of a cool plan. X Park. Anybody know what the X Park is? Anybody that has kids and anybody that lives near La Quinta High School, we have an X Park, which is a very large skate park that is going to be completed towards the end of this year, early next year. And it'll be competition level, and it'll be kind of that feeder for the Olympic training for those kids that want to go to the extreme sports. So if you haven't been by there, we'll have Spawn Ranch that has been designing and doing that. We'll have kind of a management company operating that. So something for our kids. And the Silver Rock event site, if you haven't been to our city-owned park, which is right at 52 in Jefferson, across from where the Citrus entrance is. That is about a 40-acre piece of land from the city, but about 11 acres. It's kind of like our Civic Center Park on steroids. And we're holding events there, and we have ample walking space. It's dog-friendly. A beautiful, beautiful addition it'll be for programming with Montage and Pendry when it gets done, but it's open to the public. Number 7, let's see, Tampico Center upgrades. So, you know, I know that Mayor Pro Tem Dana talked about losing a grocery store. What does that say? Oh, son of a gun. All right, we've got grocery outlet, Los Arcos Mexican restaurant, new Thai restaurant, a Chicago style pizza, and a breakfast shop coming all in the old Rouse Center across from City Hall, along with grocery outlet. They were supposed to open in August, but it'll be November. Why? Shelving, lighting, all that supply chain management issue that we're all facing. Housing, we've got lots of housing. I know Mayor Hernandez talked about the need for affordable housing. La Quinta's got about 1,500 affordable housing units now. The new state mandate, it's state mandate. We have to build another 1,500. So we've got some plans in mind to inch towards that number. I don't know if we can reach that in the 8 years that's required. And then events. Very important event tomorrow evening, which is our 9/11 Candlelight Vigil. We've held this for about 9 years now, and tomorrow we'll be adding an element and a special recognition for our 13 service members, as well as Hunter Lopez, who perished in that terrible accident in Afghanistan. But this is a 20-year anniversary. We have part of the steel girder from the World Trade Center, and I would encourage you to come out 7 p.m. at Civic Center Park. Concerts in the park will be happening in September and October at the new Silver Rock Park. We've got Brew and LQ Tour. The art celebration is happening right, it says end, but again, I think Chairman Gruby would completely allow me to take a couple minutes of his time. So our Veterans Day, of course, is November 11th, and that's also the launch of our La Quinta Art Celebration, the 4-day event that will be happening there. Ironman is coming back with Indian Wells and the county and CBB and La Quinta, and that's on Sunday, December 5th. It's also the same weekend as the Tamale Festival in Indio. And then, of course, the American Express Golf is early 2022, the 19th to the 23rd, and we will have concerts. And again, our State of the City Luncheon is not until next spring, so we'll hold the thoughts on that. But again, all of this economic development we're talking about, all of the things that we're talking about promoting, it's about jobs, it's about revenue, it's about community, and it's about quality of life. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor. Next up, I'd like to invite Mayor Christy Holstead on behalf of the City of Palm Springs.
Good afternoon. It's good to see you all. Thank you for being here today. I can't promise I'll speak as quickly as Mayor Evans. She fit a lot in there, but I'm glad to be here with you all. Last year, I was here, though we were on Zoom, and we said that the future looked bright, even though we faced unprecedented, difficult times for our communities. And I'm glad to say that that prediction was true. We've gotten through this together as a community, truly because of the work of every single person in this room who's led the way. And as Mayor Stephen Hernandez said, local businesses, small businesses who take care of their workers, who provide good paying jobs, long-term careers, higher wages for our workers. You are the backbone of our communities and our economy. And we're so grateful for your difficult work during this time. One of the first videos talked about, people know sometimes the name of Palm Springs, but I just want to be here and say the importance of regionalism, the problems that we face as a community together. We have to face them as an entire region. And sometimes that's difficult because we have 9 cities and multiple independent tribal governments. And sometimes we're split on issues, but we face significant issues, climate crisis, increasing heats in our community, economic injustice where we have some people doing extremely well and others who are not. We have a housing crisis and we need to build all the housing, and we're only going to do that together. And I know we're a region of possibility and opportunity. One of the questions later, I think, is what's the best part of our community? It's our people. We run local businesses, we work in them, we serve our community every day in so many capacities. So just grateful for the future together as long as we work together. COVID, it's hard to update 1 year of work, and now I probably have 2 minutes. And I had a baby during this year, so I have a lot going on personally. But we are just so grateful to address the COVID crisis together. We opened up our convention center. Thank you to Supervisor Perez, who worked with the county to get free testing for our entire community. Many workers who live in your cities and might work in Palm Springs. We serve the entire region through that. We got 42,000 shots in arms, thanks to the supervisor and the city of Palm Springs for working together at the convention center. We have an award-winning wastewater treatment program. We've actually been tracking the wastewater every single week to check the amount of COVID that's in our wastewater for tourists and for residents and tracking that data. We've started innovative programs to support local businesses. We did $1 million in free grants to local businesses. We passed some of the strongest worker protections and eviction moratoriums for both tenants and businesses to keep them in business during the pandemic. We've started parklets, so we're working on design guidelines to allow restaurants to stay open and stay outdoors. And now you've seen that we've required proof of vaccination or a negative test for businesses and bars. And we're having successful events. So we just had Splash House, which brought tens of thousands of people to the Coachella Valley. And based on reporting, there were no transmissions of positive cases due to those pool parties where people were enjoying. So we know that we can keep up tourism, keep up our brand in a safe way. Incredibly important to be known as a safe destination. We have new businesses. Palm Springs continues to grow. I'm sorry, Indian Wells, but we have 300 restaurants. For us, it wasn't enough. We continue to grow and invest in new businesses. And we continue to support them. Really quickly, can't read your sign. I think it says 1 minute. I'm really proud of our work on homelessness and housing. We have to support, make sure everyone who lives in our cities, who works in our cities, can also live in our cities. So proud that for the first time through the Coachella Valley Association of Governments, with Palm Springs is proud to chair, we have all 9 cities participating in our homelessness program. Really, this is a regional effort, and we're seeing immense success thanks to the work of so many in this room. Our airport continues to expand. So yes, we have Southwest serving our region. We no longer have to drive to Ontario. We are going to have double daily flights to Sacramento, up in the morning and back in the afternoon. Really excited for everyone who works there, and we'll have better connections to our state legislature and our representatives. We'll have nonstop flights to 35 airports in season. And we just invested $36 million in an airport expansion to have state-of-the-art baggage handling and expand for future capacity. June and July were the busiest months at our airport on record, beating 2019, pre-pandemic. So the Coachella Valley continues to be a hot destination, both literally and figuratively. People want to come here and they want to live here, and they're moving here. So it's to all of us to build that housing so that they can come. We also have good news for our budget. Our revenues are significantly up. You might have remembered that we made significant cuts. We thought tourism would be devastated and we just wouldn't be able to afford essential services. But we're glad that that is not in fact the case, and revenues are significantly up even before the pandemic. These are record years. We do have a giant statue of Forever Maryland. Come visit her in downtown Palm Springs. You might have seen the 300 newspaper articles about that, maybe a little bit in New York Times. Village Fest is now open. Please come visit us. And we have invested in a new downtown park for our community. So it is going to have a water feature for kids. We're going to have a waterfall, an outdoor amphitheater, and a nice shady grove for everyone to enjoy. And that will open in mid-October. So thank you all for your work. I'm so proud to work in partnership with all of you, and looking forward to working together in the year to come. Thank you.
Thank you, mayors and tribal leaders, for your presentation. At this point, we are going to get ready to engage in some moderated discussion. So I'm going to invite all of our city mayors and tribal leaders who gave a community update up to the stage. You can feel free to pick any seat. They're all comfortable. And for those of you who have not been here before, here's how this works. We've gone ahead and asked the business community for questions that they wanted to ask of their local electeds. So this might range from legislation, infrastructure, healthcare, education, COVID's impact on their community, housing, etc. So we'll get through, we'll dedicate about 5 minutes to each question. We'll see if there's any indoor fireworks today. And Chris and I will be alternating the questions. And from our panelists, if you have a thought that you'd like to share, just flag one of us and we'll call on you.
It's Craig Campbell for CoachellaValley.com. We are here at Fantasy Springs for the All Valley Mayor and Tribal Chair Luncheon, brought to you by the Greater Coachella Valley Chamber. This is the 6th annual event, and we are getting ready to take questions from the audience. We have the mayors and the tribal leaders on stage right now, and we're just trying to get the technology and things set up. Thank you for joining us. Today's California, and Coachella Valley, streaming on both the channels and on YouTube for Coachella Valley. You can read the lead article about this event on CoachellaValley.com. It's the top article, and you can learn more information about what we're doing here today.
Hello? Hey, there we go. You're on. All right, so let's get this started.
Hey, Dory, how are you doing? Thank you for joining us.
The COVID pandemic has persisted much longer than anyone anticipated it would. Businesses face a new wave of challenges they struggle to maintain. Some cities are imposing restrictions on businesses and consumers, and it's possible the state will again sometime this fall. So each restriction presents an opportunity cost to business owners. This limits income, ultimately their ability to make a profit. So, as city leaders, how specifically is your city preparing to support businesses negatively affected by regulation?
Well, I already shared, this is Lakita and Evans, that we were early adopters of funds to our businesses, and we have also agreed as a council that if we need to do that, depending on the length of this pandemic, we will do that because we want to ensure that they have the resources, the safety measures, and the ability to operate. We've always been advocates to keep businesses open in a safe manner. We will continue to push that agenda forward. We don't believe in damaging the economy to solve a health problem. We believe that we can do it at the same time.
I'll go as well. Thank you. We agree. So our public health and our economy are one and the same. If people are unhealthy, they can't go to restaurants or to businesses if workers can't show up to work. So we have taken measures to require, for example, vaccination and proof of a negative test at the request of our business owners, whose customers were demanding that of them. So we've had a mayor's roundtable for local businesses, and most of the efforts that we've done have been hand in hand with those businesses who brought really great ideas to us that we passed. That's how we did a restriction or a limitation on third-party delivery apps, Uber Eats, and those who are really underpaying delivery workers and taking so much from restaurants. And so business through that mayor's task force, we have businesses coming to us with those policy ideas, and then we are implementing them to support them.
I could just appreciate the question. You know, the hardest hit industry at this unit was hospitality and leisure to the tune of 32,000 less workers, is to my understanding, from what I read at this point, maybe even more. But I appreciate what Scott White has done, Josh Bonner, a few others here from the Coachella Valley, and creating the economic development or economic recovery task force, working alongside the county of Riverside to make sure that we would ensure that people had the PPEs, that people understood the PPP process. We were able to get $50 million or provide $50 million in grants to 5,000 businesses, $10,000 awards to the businesses, and quite frankly, it's not enough. And I'm hoping that in this next round, especially using ARPA money, if it's possible, then on the regs, I'd like to see how we support our business industry, especially hospitality and leisure. And quite frankly, one of the main primary industries for our region, agriculture. I think we need to do more to help support our agricultural industry. Many times they get forgotten. I have sometimes at home. So that's why I'm raising it now to all of you, that we need to make sure that we continue to support that ag industry as well.
Well, I'll go ahead. India's about ready to roll out phase 2 of their grant program. Usually $5,000 or $10,000 grants. We're looking at really a grassroots way to support our small businesses. Certainly marketing. Our team in India works with many of our restaurants and small businesses in terms of outside eating areas and dining areas so that their businesses can be expanded in many situations, if not enhanced. It's a team effort. It's a group effort. We're all trying to shop local, get that word out, get that message out, and support our small businesses any way we can, financially, as I said, through marketing, through any level and means of support that we can. Our small businesses are the heart of our community, all of our communities.
So I don't want to repeat what's already been said. And where some of the cities were able to do direct programs, some of us were not, but did direct funding where we could. But I think where the cities really were able to support was to get information, especially the small businesses that may not have that access to information, to assist with applying with some of the programs that were available through the county and the state in particular. And also, as has already been mentioned, assist with logistics as far as PPE and other issues.
Want to just kind of give a shout out to my council members, Councilmember Nataliga Larsa, Josie Gonzalez, our city manager, Gabriel Martin, Dr. Gabriel Martin. I think we've done all of what everybody's done in terms of helping the small businesses, but I think for us, it's really about what's next. And I know that many of you are struggling with workforce, so we are looking at how we can program our ARPA money to make sure people can get back into the workforce and actually go and work for you all. What's happening right now is it's hard to get employment. And so we want to make sure that we can support the business community. I think the other thing that's very important is that we need to put our money on innovation. And so that's where we're focusing on. Our council has moved forward on innovation and workforce for the use of the ARPA money that's coming. It should be rolling out the next few weeks.
Well, like the other cities we had. Yeah, sorry. Like the other cities, we had a robust program of making sure all our small businesses were aware of the rapidly changing rules. We found out about most of them around 11 o'clock, thanks to Supervisor Perez's office. And we would get a full advance notice, and we would disseminate that quickly so that everyone was up to date. On a much larger scale, we were expecting possibly as many as 500,000 people to come to our tennis tournament next month. They are taking this extremely seriously. No one will be allowed that has not been vaccinated or tested within 72 hours. Is that correct? But they're taking this very, very seriously, and we are hoping and going to work with them to try to minimize any problems during the tennis tournament.
Wonderful. Thanks for all of the thoughtful responses that we are touching on the reports. I can tell you it's more on the grassroots ground level, talking with businesses, reports are the number one issue right now. So any programs that can be developed to help incentivize employment opportunities are well welcome. So moving on to the next question. We all know during the pandemic that having access to broadband we know for students, many of them weren't able to participate in school, and people were trying to work from home and have to share broadband with students at home. It really limited their ability to work. I know that there are millions of dollars available through the rescue plan. The question is, how are you taking those funds and work with broadband providers to close the digital divide?
I'll jump right in. I'm not sure if folks happen to have seen that photo when the pandemic hit us. I think it was in Salinas, or Monterrey, in Central California, where you had two students, two youth, right outside of Taco Bell doing their homework because they didn't have access to the internet where they lived. That photo went viral just all over the state of California, throughout the nation. And obviously, we already knew that broadband was a major issue and concern here, and like it is in other parts of the state of California. And we've been fighting that fight for quite some time to make sure that we do receive the resources necessary to ensure that ultimately people do have access to the internet. We have the same struggles here in the east end of the valley like we do in the west end of the valley. And so I am happy to say, though, that $6 billion over the course of these next 3 years will be allocated for broadband efforts. We just got to make sure we stay on top of that. Ensure that that money doesn't go elsewhere along the way because things happen in Sacramento. especially towards the end of session, where we just got to be on making sure that we hold that accountable, right? We get that funding, we make it happen. I'm really proud as well that the Southern California counties came together to make sure, as an entity, and I think CVAG as well played a role. Obviously, our cities played a role so that we could get that funding that was necessary from the state of California. Early on in the pandemic, using CARES Act money, I think we allocated about $50 million to Riverside County Office of Education, which they use throughout the county of Riverside. Ultimately, I think 23,000 laptops were provided. The 13,000 hotspots, I think, were also provided to our youth. But none of that's not enough. We can do better. We will do better when it comes to broadband. We need to diversify our economy. Joe Wallace, I'm not sure if he's here. He's like the broadband guy. He's always talking about broadband and making sure that we develop that out. And so I appreciate his efforts as well, because that's very necessary.
Broadband has been critically important to us, the council here at the city of Indio. 2 years ago, we funded the broadband fiber master plan in the city of Indio. It's slowed down a little bit during COVID, but we're full speed ahead. Yes, certainly for our students and to be able to, from an educational standpoint, that's critical, but from a business standpoint, that's highly critical. We talk about things from a regional perspective and our ability to bring in large businesses, employment, and what we need here in the greater Coachella Valley really is important and specific to broadband services. With broadband, we will be an even more successful Coachella Valley, and we need to work for it, strive toward that. That's something the city of Indio is doing.
Let me just talk about what the city of Coachella did. And I see Adonis Galarza, he's a school board member. The city used its procurement power to purchase Wi-Fi hotspots and made sure that no kid and no student in the Coachella Valley Unified School District was without a hotspot. I want to just give credit to Mayor Mattis, who was the former chairman of the Transportation Commission of CVAG. I'm the incoming chairman of the Transportation Commission. But as many of you may be aware, the Coachella Valley is looking at synchronizing our lights. And what CVAG has done, and through his leadership, we tag team on that effort and are looking to do a valley-wide broadband plan. And so we're going to be taking advantage of the infrastructure, putting about $20 million forward as every single Coachella Valley city, as well as the county, has moved forward on this. So we're trying to look at how we can do hard lines and then use different satellites. I think that for all of us, it's important that we capture the moment today. There's billions of dollars out there right now. And as leaders, we need to do our job to make sure that we can get 1% of that here into the Coachella Valley. And so we're committed as a region. And again, thanks to the efforts of Mayor Mattis, that we are moving as a valley and as a CVAG to really look forward and bring a comprehensive broadband plan.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to bring up the synchronization project as well. When we look at the signals going down to 111 and several of the arterials, the King has taken the opportunity as well with our public safety camera system to allow that fiber optic cable room so that as broadband continues to develop. Thank you, Julio, by the way, for this question and for the consulting on all things broadband and 5G, et cetera. But it needs to be a collaborative effort because this could really be a great industry and regional project. When we look at how many people have moved into La Quinta, the prices of homes and people that are coming to us and a lot of our cities to work remote, we have to have the capabilities for them, especially in our mountainous kind of communities, to be able to have that access and attract those businesses that may not be bricks and mortar that are tech related and need that service. So I'm excited about the progress we're making, but you're right, we need to capture the dollars and continue to move forward as a region.
Thank you very much. Next question. What policies are you considering in your cities that will improve energy efficiencies? And are you considering how these policies affect the business?
I'm going to say we're a city that doesn't like to mandate things
for businesses or residents. We like to provide, thank you. No offense to any other city that does for whatever reason. We've got Deb and Gary from the gas company at our table, and when you hear about legislation that wants to mandate that everything goes electric, we can't rely on electric because of fires, and we can't rely on it. You can't charge a car at every place. Anyway, we need options is what we need, and we need renewable energy options, and we need to look at a variety of things to be able to provide efficiencies for cost. We need to look at, and I know this is probably an upcoming question, but uniting with a request for better power source. We've got severe issues with power, and not only now in terms of infrastructure, but going forward as we continue to grow. So La Quinta will continue to educate our community and our residents and businesses on options without doing mandates, unless of course they're forced upon us by the state.
So I'll just say to Depot City, we're also not looking at mandating or changing the way that either the businesses or the residents have to receive their electrical power. But we are trying to lead by example. And we have an ongoing program in the city, of course, to replace all the lighting, both in the city facilities and also street lights and elsewhere, with LED, those types of things, and make sure that electric chargers are more available. So we've chosen to take that stance instead of trying to mandate to businesses, although, of course, as the state does, we have no choice. Thank you.
I see Director Jamie Hamby here from the Imperial Irrigation District, and I'll take a line from them. They are the cheapest energy source and power in the whole state of California. So I think they're gonna keep it that way. Our only issue is that sometimes the lights go out, but I think long term we're really looking at just energy reliability and continuing to have very inexpensive power in the eastern end of the Coachella.
Let me just add to that. Where is Director Hamby? Here somewhere? Hey, Director. I wanted to point him out. That's Stephen Landis. Hope you all know who he is.
I want to know who he is.
But nonetheless, though, I got to point him out because he's done a great job. Honestly, it's got to be difficult for him to bring his colleagues along. And I know that he's taking hits to ensure ultimately that we do restore the power, we have power reliability. But at the end of the day, take care of constituents. It's just terrible. I brought it up earlier, it's 105 degrees, 110 degrees, and people don't have any power. Their air conditioners don't work, obviously, without that. And it's just very difficult. So moving forward, I know we're talking about renewables, but I'm just going to kind of divert this very quickly here. Moving forward, the County of Riverside, ID, working together, much better communication, emergency plans in place for natural disasters, thinking about long-term solutions, the infrastructure that's needed so that ultimately at the end of the day, no one has that problem moving forward. We know it's going to happen. It's just a matter of when. But the more prepared we are, the better. And once again, just want to thank our director for being out here with us in the trenches. Appreciate that you do that.
I'll just jump in here real quick with the city of Indio. We are also doing LED lights throughout our city, but outside of building codes that we have to follow, we're not mandating, power as it comes in many forms. Renewable energy is one of them, and we need to have our arms open wide so that we understand all the different, opportunities that are available to us.
We have substantial energy that costs at our city hall and our golf resort. And we're presently investing about $9 million to retrofit our electricity use, our energy use to make it much more energy efficient. So we're doing that on city property, and like many other cities, we're not mandating anything to our residents.
What was that dollar amount? Did you say 900 million? No. 9 million.
I'll respond as a city who's known for possibly mandating things sometimes at the request of our residents, always at the request of our residents. But I do think this is an area, like Mayor Hernandez said, is we need to innovate. We need to think about the future. So it's about providing incentives. We also, I know this is about energy efficiency. We're also very much focused on the future of gas stations, the future of charging stations, which might be the gas stations of the future. How do we drive traffic in a way that people come to our region and stay and shop and love it, fall in love and move here one day. So we really are trying to innovate and think about how we as the city can support that business growth and economic development, which this is really about. Energy costs are costs for businesses. So we are proud to be the only city right now in our JPA for desert community energy, which is a community controlled energy where we've actually reduced our greenhouse gases by 20%. So it's like getting thousands and thousands of cars off the road every year, and our saver is cheaper than the other available options on the market, and the profits are invested back into the community. And we've invested in wind farms, and which are local jobs, good paying careers that probably make more than I made as an attorney, going up to the top and fixing those windmills. So I do think this is such an area where the Coachella Valley can lead, because we have all the sun in the world, we have the best wind in the world, and we can really invest in clean energy that will power our cities and power our businesses for much cheaper. And I urge you to all please join Desert Community Energy. All right, I thank you all for your responses there, and I'm going to go off script again for just a second, because this question was relative to your specific cities, but I heard in many of your comments words like innovation and opportunity and renewable energy and the future. And I want to just encourage you as elected leaders to recognize what I saw when I joined this community, that we truly are one of the most special places in the entire state to have every natural resource. You have land, you have wind, you have solar, you have water. And I think that as a region, we can hopefully collaborate and pioneer new innovative thoughts, share our best practices with one another, and I think put ourselves on the map as the capital for what to do with creating, managing, and using energy. So I'll get off my podium.
Well, and don't forget that Sunlight has a very robust hydrogen program, and that is something that obviously could be duplicated throughout the whole.
Well said. Okay, so our next question switches gears a little bit. It looks like it might be a little bit of a multi-parter. It says, with the combination of the relief unemployment ending and rent relief going away, do you foresee problems within your city? There's fear that people might lose their homes, be evicted, or lose their income. And we still face uncertainty this fall. This will have an effect on your cities and the economy. So what measures are you taking as a city to deal with these potential problems or a re-escalation of these issues?
I can start. I want to give a lot of credit to the county supervisor and the board of supervisors who put $200 million up for rental relief. And I know there's a substantial amount of money. I think what we got to do is let people know that that fund is there. And that Live to Rise is done a great job of getting that money out there. And I believe they're going to continue to do that. I think we're cities, we can maybe use our ARPA money is covering mortgage payments, and where perhaps the federal dollars don't let us go with it, because we know what happened in 2008 and 2009. It was the mortgage prices that really threw property values off here in the Coachella Valley. So if we could help to keep residents in their house that have a mortgage, that's great. But renters, give it up to the county supervisor and the work that they've done to really make sure that people can go and get rent relief.
think, on that front, I had to take a look at my notes to get the actual numbers. But, for rental assistance, we gave out $50 million, and there's another 60 million that was allocated. And that's gonna continue to the end of this year. We're gonna take a good look to see if we can continue such a program. Obviously, it's important for all of us. We stabilize our families, which if they're stable and they can work, which keeps our economy moving forward. And so that's a priority for us. It was a priority way back when the pandemic first began. And we're going to continue to do what we can to ensure that people, not only the renter, but the homeowner as well, receive what they need in order for them to have a good quality of life, and just to make sure that they can continue to work and have stable lives. That's important.
So I'm just going to jump in and I'm going to take a minute to introduce my council because we have really been very supportive. Right now we have Mayor Pro Tem Wayman Furman here, Council Member Oscar Ortiz, and Council Member Glenn Miller. And this was a topic of conversation at quite a few of our meetings as we tried to embrace, and we really want to thank Lift to Rise because they gave well over 300 vouchers and dollars out to people to try to assist and help. The city of Indio also has 2 contracts with legal aid, navigating, trying to figure out where the funds are, trying to figure out your rights as someone that lives in a rental or a home, and trying to be able to help the greater community navigate that. Where do they get the funds? How do they stay in their homes? Was something that was very high on our list. We are so hoping that with the economy is starting to pick up, there are so many jobs out there available that through some of the efforts of the county and the job prospects out there, economic development, that these folks will be able to work and get back on that even keel and have that quality of life.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. There's tremendous resources available to those that need it through either the county funding, Lift to Rise, CVAGs, for Housing First program, just a number of ways to educate residents and businesses for filling that gap that may exist, that does exist in many circumstances. There's also a lot of businesses that are saying that they can't hire people and that they're limiting their income potential because of lack of workforce. So there's incentives and there's incentives. And I think that there's been so much that has been provided for so long that we need to start getting people to work, to want to work, to not stay home and make more. And we need to keep that economy thriving and provide the help where it's truly needed, not because it's the easy way to go.
I wanted just to thank Mayor Holmes and Mayor Emmett. They just mentioned Lift to Rise. Heather Vicona is doing an outstanding job. And quite frankly, they are a model for not only the rest of the county of Riverside, but for the state of California. People are calling her from different areas throughout the state of California for advice, lessons learned. How did she put this together? I remember when it first started, I think she had maybe 2 or 3 employees. She's got like up to 30 employees now. And they're every day working to ensure that people are receiving that rental assistance. And I also gotta give a shout out to Greg Rodriguez, who's been working with Lift to Rise and issues around housing and homelessness with CVAG and others, Charlie Rescue Mission, Martha's Kitchen, all these other groups that are out there that are making sure that people are stable and that they have somewhere to sleep at night. So thank you for the good work you're doing as well.
Thank you, and I'll just add to Lift to Rise's work, and thank you really to Supervisor who led this effort and got tens of millions of dollars to our community when they most needed it. So really thank you for your leadership on rental assistance. We contributed $500,000, which is a little embarrassing compared to your number, but you have a $6.9 billion budget. We have a $100 million budget, but we appreciate your leadership. I'll just talk about Lift to Rise, and I think our work, all of us, is about the root causes of these problems, right? I mean, one, the unemployment system's totally broken, and that's a mess that we're seeing, right? That people can't get through, that there's, it's a broken system, but also the rent is too high. People, you know, and I didn't give a shout out, Councilmember Grace Garner from my council is here, and she's born and raised in Palm Springs, which is so important to have people who grew up in our communities leading. And we talk about it all the time. You know, younger people, I'm 35, I'm not even that young anymore, being pushed out of our communities because the rent is so high, right? And then that's a problem for businesses who can't get workers in our community because it's too far of a drive. It's a problem for environment because workers are going back and forth through the Coachella Valley to get to work and working multiple jobs throughout our city. So we just have to address the need for housing at all levels, and we have to do that regionally. And we have to invest, like the supervisor said, in diversifying our economy for good paying jobs. And that's why we support local businesses who pay, good, my grandparents had a local business who support their workers, right, forever, for decades. And we need to diversify to get, help support local businesses and get good paying jobs like green energy and others. Palm Springs, we actually are doing a update from Live to Rise at our next council meeting, but Palm Springs residents actually received some of the most amount of aid from the rental assistance. And that's not because they were in front of the line, it's because there's a deep, deep need in Palm Springs. We have a tale of two cities, people might not know, but we have a deep need where we actually have a high proportion of renters, a high proportion of people in the service industry, and those people are really struggling, and we need to support them to get back to work. So I just wanted to make that point, and thank you to Councilmember Garner for all her leadership on those issues.
That's a great segue to the next question. Talking about regionalization. The USDA recently unveiled a multi-billion-dollar investment opportunity for regional development. EDA made it clear these funds are not likely to be awarded to individual cities, but they can go to regional agencies. So if the Coachella Valley were to be awarded, say, $25 million or some number larger than that, where should the money go? And what should be invested?
I want to jump in, because I think this is a perfect example of all of us working together on a regional basis. I am on all kinds of committees with each and everyone on this stage. For me, my first thought is broadband, that communication pipe, that fiber in the ground, where however it runs, Highway 111, Interstate 10, that is what's going to fuel our economy. That's what's going to bring business into our community. And I think that we're probably, most of us, if not all of us, in agreement that raising the bar in terms of our economy and using broadband to do it is one of the ways I'd like to see those funds used. Let's add electricity, let's add power to that, the infrastructure for power as a region so that we can be more independent and be able to collaborate where needed, but it's twofold. Yep.
I'm in a lot of ways just a little envious of Palm Springs and their airport and how great their airport is doing and how it's been used to just bring in tourism and bring in a lot of customers and has helped us all. But there's an airport in the East Valley, and that's the Cochran Airport. And I believe it's right on my city sphere of influence. And there is a huge opportunity there. So if $25 million were to go anywhere, at least for me, I think broadband's not money. But making sure that Thermal Airport can develop and become something special, maybe on the industrial side, commercial side, that we can complement the Palm Springs Airport. I think that's something that would help us all as a valley to really create more diverse jobs and an economy. So looking at the airport in Thermal, it's massive. I don't know how many of you guys know about it, but that's a great area that I think as a region we should get behind and support.
I appreciate that point, Mr. Mayor. There's a lot that can be done when it comes to the airport. Since I got appointed back in 2017, it's still a good fight to fight, meaning that we're have been trying to get customs to come to the airport. it's just been difficult. And I think this is where our cities as a region can come together. Obviously, as I mentioned earlier, complementing Palm Springs Airport, and potentially Thermal Airport can be used for trade, cargo. Potentially, you know, we do have the festivals, right? And we do have people like Beyonce and, well, so I don't know, about every other singer I guess you can think of that comes to the festival, they land there. We got potential there for manufacturing. We got potential there for other industries. There's been talks with individuals about bringing Volaris to the airport. Obviously, we have some work to do before we get there, but I'm hoping that this is an idea that all of us as a region can agree to, that we can put pressure at the federal level to support the importance of having customs there at the thermal.
I agree. City of Palm Springs agrees that regional economic development takes all of us and that we need every region of the Coachella Valley, and that the success of the thermal airport, helps support Palm Springs, and likewise, we need those, and we need to invest in regional equity. And so I think that's really important that, talk about the future of the valley. It is the thermal airport, and I'm glad to work together to support those efforts. But I'll add to the wish list, if we can, is the CSU Palm Desert campus. We have to get that done. I do think that's one of the single most efforts that we can do for regional economic development. It helps students who can access a 4-year career here, get into good paying jobs of the future, like cybersecurity and their other nursing programs and everything that CSU Palm Desert campus can provide. And then it helps provide an educated workforce for our community, where people can access education, can better the lives of themselves and their families, can create their own businesses, and continue to help our economy grow. So I know we are all working on that very strongly, and that's such a priority. And you look how strong we are together when we sit up here together and work on these efforts together.
Just very quickly, I'm sorry to jump in once again. Maybe not as critical, but it was brought up, our Blue Ribbon Committee on Planning and Permitting for the County of Riverside, the leadership of DDBA and Gretchen. I'm sure Gretchen is here. But she mentioned how she's beginning to see more graffiti on the overpasses. Along the way, on the side of the overpasses. I've seen it maybe here and there, around the Thousand Palms area, maybe the overpass there at Monterrey. But basically, maybe the idea of beautifying, if you will, improving our overpass, our corridor, our entrances all the way through the Coachella Valley, our overpasses, make them look a little better. I think that if we're able to do something like that, people would appreciate it, and people might decide to stop and spend some money. Right? So just a thought that came up at a meeting yesterday, the day before, as I was thinking about region.
Any other takers before we move on? All right, all good stuff. And as your regional chamber, we'll look to be a catalyst in bringing you guys together around the table to continue moving this dialogue forward. Okay, so our next question is another multi-parter. I'm getting on. What is the future of education in your community? What goals are your city setting for your youth? And what specifically are you doing to improve enrollment in higher education?
Well, Christy talked about the efforts to be a Palm Desert standalone campus for Cal State San Bernardino to become its own. Obviously, to have a 4-year university that could be in the 10 to 15,000 student range really is a driver, but that does start early on. And I'll digress real quick because I did receive a text during the broadband question from one of the Director of Community Engagement for Desert Sands Unified, Sean Webb, saying that One Future and all the districts, as well as College of the Desert, are collaborating for pre-K, post-secondary for all of Coachella Valley and securing broadband for the entire desert. So when you look at investing in education, you've got to start from pre-K and K going forward. La Quinta and Desert Sands have strong schools, IB programs and AP programs. And it's one of the highest percentages of student populations that continue to higher education. And the more that we can do through scholarships, through collaboration and having them understand opportunities to return to the Valley for jobs so they're not going to school and not returning, those are the important factors. And I think that's another example where I think we all work together. While education is kind of its own island, it's important for us. We work very closely with our schools in the city, from career days to events to supporting them with grants to doing internships, things like that, to show the importance of education and how that will provide them that independence and initiative to go after their passion or be able to provide a living wage in their comfort zone to return and stay here and thrive.
And I'm just going to add to that as well. That's so important here in India. We have such a great relationship with our school districts that is not something that people take for granted in other parts of the community. So we are very, very lucky to have that. I know that we have a teen center in the city of Indio, and we work very, very hard with our teens. You talk about career fairs, etc. We really want to make sure that our teens and our students at all grade levels really understand the opportunity that's out there for our city and for their career advancement. When the city of Indio put in the College of the Desert campus now several years ago now, immediately 4,000 people started going to school there, immediately overgrown. We have another College of the Desert campus that's about ready to break ground. That's going to have another 4,000 students and really give these students the opportunity to look forward to something, to dream, to be inspired. But there are so many areas where we give scholarships, and I'm going to give a shout out to an organization that started in Indio and is now across the entire Coachella Valley, and that is the Ophelia Girls, and it's now the Ophelia Group, because that is a tremendous organization and really ensures that no one falls through the cracks, that we work with our young students at the earliest of ages, that we help give them confidence, that we help show them, give them direction and show them the opportunities that are out there. The city of Indio is just a huge supporter. And for us to be able to take the next step and have the university in our backyard, I think is huge as well. We also have the law school. So just having all those opportunities in our greater regional community speaks to our focus.
Yeah, I just wanted to echo that the key to this really is the partnerships, as has already been mentioned. And so there's just a couple more besides, of course, with the university. But as I mentioned when I spoke earlier, a lot of us have a local need for certain types of vocational training too. So an example of that is College of the Desert's project to put their automotive technology center in Cathedral City, right at the auto center, so that there'll be a connection with the actual employers and the ability to actually work in the industry. But we also have a lot of great partnerships with our nonprofits, our Boys and Girls Clubs. We have a great one in Cathedral City. I know other areas of the Valley do too. So they start supporting all the way from the youngsters all the way up. And although they may not seem like they're directly tied to formal education, of course, a lot of what they do is supporting the educational process for everyone. And that continues on. Another that I wanted to mention is Sunline. You may not be aware, but Sunline has major initiatives to try to make sure that students can easily get to school all the way through, and in particular for the university, and is now running a line from directly from the Valley to the main campus in San Bernardino until we can get more and more classes out here in the Valley. So it's these partnerships, I think, that tie together with everything else that's been mentioned, that is really a way that the cities can support education.
I just want to add on that idea of the partnerships. We were recently in the news. There was an article that was some former president of COD was somewhat pitting Coachella and Palm Springs. And it was just very interesting to see that it was an either or conversation. And frankly, it shouldn't be that way. I think that we can all, as a community, as cities, do things to elevate our education in our community. Coachella, we have the largest adult school in the Coachella Valley. We have 2,000 students there, and it's right in downtown. We've been working on a partnership with our adult school and College of the Desert to get a feeder program. Moreover, we have about 13% and growing of College of the Desert population. And so for us, it's very important that we address the spatial mismatch, which is kids having to commute long distances. These are disadvantaged kids that don't have a job or they have to work for their parents. They don't have access to good transportation. So we want to make it easier for them to get educated in our community. At the same time, part of what we need to do is continue to change the culture of our students and of our residents. We're 98% Latino. Of that, 26 years old is our median age, and of that, half of it is under 18. So the workforce of the Coachella Valley is in these valleys. So the more we can educate those kids, the more we can give them good training. Those are going to be the resources that you all need as businesses in order to fund your workforce. So we need to, as a valley, really think about not what's just good, but where are the kids? Where's the community? And how we can go to them as government. And frankly, the College of the Desert is a government. They need to go where the students are. And so I'm going to keep pushing for College of the Desert in the East Valley.
Let me just add to that. I support and appreciate the comments by all my colleagues on these fronts. And yeah, unfortunately, this issue became political when it didn't happen. At the end of the day, we need to build out more education centers throughout the Coachella Valley. Although we do know that Palm Springs was in line, is in line to be next. So I think we need to respect that. But at the same time, let's make sure that the funding that we do have, the extra funding that we have, to think about how we can further support the expansion of education opportunities throughout the entire Coachella. And with that said, I also think it's important that we continue providing physical activities for our youth. I really appreciate the efforts of Desert Recreation District, what they're doing. There's someone from Desert Recreation here? And Rudy's a director. Rudy, they're doing an outstanding job, and they're expanding their programs throughout the entire Coachella Valley, which I think is awesome, and bringing parks, green spaces to communities that never had it. You know, whether that be in North Shore, that be Oasis, potentially in other areas in the future.
We'll just be streaming for just a few minutes.
Let's continue to do that, and let's continue to support that.
Thank you for tuning in. Please share with your friends, and any comments that you might have, place in the comments here, and we will respond to them, whether you're watching it live or watching it post-live.
So we reached a level of political maturity, and we can get things done. Instead of saying, no, I can, or I don't know about this, you blame me for this. It's like, she said, well, yes, we can.
I agree. I think for too long, we haven't had our fair share of resources in our region. We've been underserved by the state. We've been overlooked, and that's led us to fight over scraps. And so when you see the conversation, which I haven't responded to publicly, about the COD campus. Yes, we want to invest in campuses and COD expansion in all the cities where students are so that we can meet them where they're at. That's what we learned in this pandemic, right? We need new, innovative, different ways to meet students where we're at. And we need to really understand the complexities of our communities because it is not us versus them or east versus west. We have an extreme need in Palm Springs for students I know that have had to drop out of COD because they couldn't take a bus 40 minutes there and back with their minimum wage jobs to be able to go to Palm Desert for the campus. I know that applies to Desert Hot Springs and Cathedral City. So we just need to work together to fight for more on the table for all of us. And I think that way we will be successful for our region and for our students.
Thank you.
Steal the mic from you. We're going to go ahead and close out our series of questions on a happy note. And we'd love to give each of you an opportunity to speak. And the question is, share with us, the audience, one of your favorite things about your community that you want the rest of us to come experience and fall in love with.
These will be the closing comments.
It's a great place to live. I don't care where you work, where you buy your clothes or your grocery stores. You
It's
want
the
to
mayor
live
of
in
Indian
it.
Wells speaking.
And we'd love to have you. We're got new housing development going up. One live in 120 new houses being built by Lennar. We'd love to have you come and get one of those before they're all gone. We love our tennis tournament. We love our golf courses. We have two beautiful city-owned golf courses. We have a city-owned restaurant. I don't know whether anyone else has a restaurant. We own a restaurant. Come to Indian Wells and relax. And if you don't want to buy a house, we'll stay at one of our resorts.
I would just say we're the best kept secret in the valley, so that's why we want to come to Augustine. And also our organic farm, so come and check that out in November.
I just want to think about the resiliency of my community. Coachella residents,
Mayor Coachella.
they are very resilient. They are folks that are scrappers. They believe in family. They believe in keeping their culture and their traditions. And I'm very, very proud of how they've come along through COVID. And I think it's that spirit that is really fueling the future for us. We've invested in infrastructure. We've invested in our parks, our libraries, and it's a great place to raise families. So if you're looking for a good place to raise your family, if you're looking for a great place to really feel the culture and have some great meals and drinks, come visit Coachella. We're the place to be.
Well, I look at Cathedral City and I look at what makes it special. I think of family, but it's just not one type of family. There's a diversity of families, a diversity of people in Cathedral City. You have your nuclear families, you have your retiree families, your multi-generational families. We have a great mix of ethnicities in Cathedral City, LGBTQ community that's very strong. And so I know our current council, and I wanted to shout out or call out council member Rita Lamb that's with me today, and our city manager. The current council is really refocusing on families. So you heard us talk a little bit about a desire to do more things in the neighborhoods and join the Desert Recreation District. And I really think that it's the family atmosphere that makes Cathedral City special, a place where people can grow and stay. And so that's what's very special about Cathedral City to me.
It's the people. I think that's what we are all trying to say. In Indio, it's the authenticness of our community. It's the people that work hard, that play hard. It's the diversity of our organization. I want to welcome our new city manager, Brian Montgomery, here. He speaks Spanish, and one of the things that brought him to our community was the diversity of our community and the beauty of the culture and the organization, the outreach, the heart and the soul. I think that is what Indio has been for well over 90 years. And I think that as our city grows and our partnerships in our community, it will only get better. So the one thing is you have to have passion to be able to lead and share and collaborate. The one thing I love about La Quinta is the people. By far, it's the people that live there, it's the people who visit there. It's would have been one of the most enjoyable parts of being mayor is the people I've had the opportunity to meet. Not necessarily famous people or very wealthy people. It is just the grassroots. It's the combination of what our community as a whole represents and the vibe and the energy. And I just try to emulate and provide that energy and provide that inspiration for people to love La Quinta the way I do, thanks to the people.
I really appreciate what I see happening now more so than ever before. From the grassroots to the treetops is the collaborations that are taking place to get things done. And what I mean by that is from the federal level, the congressional level, with our Congressman Reese, to the state level, with Assembly Member Laura Garcia. I happen to be an honor to be the supervisor, Chad Mays, as well, the Assembly Member, the Senator, my colleagues here. The collaborations are strong. We decide to cooperate and communicate with each other. We get things done. And so, for me, that is a major asset that we have that many times goes unnoticed. The other thing I'd like to add is we can't do this alone. Staff gets things done. And I want to say thank you to my staff, the phenomenal fourth, for always kicking my butt and making sure I do the right thing, and for advocating for our folks, moving the needle forward, just being them. I value you. And I'm going to be missing a staff member that's moving on, bigger and greater things. Amy. Say hi, Amy. I miss you, Amy. She's going somewhere in which Linda had something to do with, I'm sure. It's all right. It's okay because obviously she's going to be helping folks in her capacity, working with Linda and others within the Desert Healthcare Network. So I'm going to miss you. In any event, staff, let's always think about our staff. We're trying to make things happen. They're important. They equally work as hard and many times late at night. So, gracias a ustedes. Thank you so much.
I agree. This is all about people, but already 4 people have said people, so I have to think of a different word, which I'll say community. You know, our city hall says the people are the city. We sit up here as leaders. We get to be the face of our cities or our tribes or our counties, but really it's a whole community behind us and with us, in front of us, that are leading, that we get to support. So I'm proud of our community here in the Coachella Valley and our partnership. And I'll just give a shout out if I can to the people who are leading in our community, like Dr. David Reddy, our city manager, who retired after 20 years of service to the city, our police chief, Brian Reyes, who just retired after 27 years in our police department and leading as chief for 6 years. That's the kind of these are small towns, we're a small community, we know each other, and we're proud to work together.
Well, on that note, that officially ends our questions for this year's event. Supervisor, tribal leaders, mayors, thank you very much for taking time and for your service to our region and for your participation today.
Valley Mayor and Tribal Chair Luncheon. Craig Campbell for Coachella Valley and today's
I want to
Till
personally
next
just thank
time.
all of you
Thank
for attending and engaging with your electeds. On behalf of the Greater Coachella Valley Chamber of Commerce, obviously I'm new, I'm still tripping over that. We want to just invite you to stay connected. We have big plans and our intention is only to enhance the amazing brand and programs that we currently have. I want to call your attention to two things on your chair. You saw our annual report, but I want to give a shout out to my team for producing the first